Go back into South Bend's history. 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, and what do you see? You see groups of people working to bring change to this city. They had different ideas of what that change should be. They didn't always agree. Yet, in every decade, there were groups of people for whom positive change was their life's work. This podcast, South Bend's Own Words, features the voices of people who helped make the city change. We'll share clips from the oral histories done by the Indiana University South Bend Civil Rights Heritage Center to tell a more complete history of the city. It's the story of many cultures, not just one. It's the story of South Bend. Marguerite Taylor is a longtime resident of South Bend's northeast side. She's the daughter of Renelda Robinson, a neighborhood leader who was honored as the namesake of the Robinson Community Learning Center. As a girl, Renelda got to travel, playing softball for a local chapter of the American Negro Girls Softball League. She did this when sports not only segregated women, but the few white women's teams, like the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, refused to accept African American players. In 2003, Marguerite Taylor was joined by Charlie Howell to speak with the Civil Rights Heritage Center's Les Lamon and David Healey. They talked about Renelda Robinson and the incredible changes they've witnessed in South Bend's near northeast side.
We were talking about the team. So they originally were called the Cozy Girls.
Bill Harris, you said?
His name was Bill Harris. Mm-hmm. And he had this group of girls, and they traveled. I can remember actually my mother talking about them trying to play the Blue Sox. Blue Sox would never play them. They were actually very good. And they played surrounding cities. They used to play a team out of Gary often. They played a team out of Michigan City. The Blue Sox never would play them.
And they were Chicago playing.
This is the God's truth. My dad will tell you this. My mom and dad married in 1942. On their honeymoon, they went to Chicago. My mother played softball. On the night they got married, and they got married at my grandma's house on a Saturday morning, and Saturday night they were in Chicago, and my mom was playing.
Is that right? Quite a honeymoon there.
He said that was their honeymoon, and then back to South Bend.
Well, now let me ask you this: the team, Uncle Bill's colored girls softball team,
Yeah.
Okay? And it played all around the Midwest. Or was there a league that they played in, or?
They played at Great Lakes Naval Base. They played a team there. And all they would get is their expenses. The team stayed together until probably the mid to late 50s, yeah.
Okay. Did your mother continue to play on it all?
She played. I remember she played. She was pregnant with my sister.
I call them the big league. Yeah, because they all had big legs.
That's why I can remember how long they stayed together, because she was still playing and sliding, and my dad was like, oh God, and she's pregnant.
Well, now let me ask you, the sponsor, Uncle Bill Harris, what did he do?
Every summer he did the baseball thing, and it was all summer. And he had a restaurant, didn't he? He and Mrs. Harris.
It's called the Big Hour.
And I know it, and I was a kid, so what I did was like run around and buy popcorn and stuff. But I know as I got older, and we talked about it, money was always a problem for getting the team here and there. They were never paid, but they didn't play anyone in South Bend, so they played around in the region, and it was like getting them there and feeding them and getting them back home and paying money for gas. That was like 23 cents a gallon.
Yeah, right.
Or a nickel gallon.
I remember my grandmother going to Redbird getting 10 gallons of gas for $2.30. But, as far as sponsors go, or, somebody underwriting them, I just don't think that happened.
No.
I don't think that happened back then. They just did it. And I can remember, it seems like those girls pitched in and paid for their own uniforms.
I can tell you what color they were. Can you tell me what color they were? These skirts were brown, light brown, and the upper was dark brown.
Okay,
They were dark brown. And the blue sock was blue and white.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the sock, they had long stocking, and they were brown and white.
Well, now, why did they call themselves Uncle Bill's then if he didn't?
Because
Uncle Bill, the one that
he was the
really,
manager. He was put them together.
He organized it.
He organized. He was the team manager. He put those kids together as young adults and kept them together. They played every summer for years.
Did he recruit them out of the local high schools then?
no, they got played, all over the park. They started out in the all over park. You know where the all over park is? That's corner of Western and Chapin. There'd be a grocery store, a drugstore in the corner, and the park was behind it. Where
There's a park there now.
Yeah, and that was where the public housing is.
Yeah.
That's where the ball diamond was.
Now, how much interaction was there? Because I hear you talk. You were East Sider, and you were East Sider. How much interaction was there between you or your families and the people living over here and the people living way out on the west side?
I can tell you this, as a kid growing up in the late 50s and 60s, we used to just die to get to the corner of Washington and Walnut. I mean, they had dances over there. They had Cherry Hall, and they had the VFW, and they had the American Legion. My mother would let us go there. And it was like, those kids, they would just like to run us back to the east side. There was never any relationship between the kids from the east side and the kids from the west side. It was like this terrible rivalry. And living on the east side, we all thought we were rich, and those people lived on the west side, we all thought they were dirt poor. What we didn't know that we were all dirt poor. We just didn't know we were dirt poor. We thought we were rich and famous, and we thought we really had money. We didn't. We didn't. But all of our parents, our moms all stayed home, and our dads all worked at Studebakers. And we all just thought we were rich and everybody lived like us, but they didn't. You know what I mean? They didn't. And the people on the west side thought we were rich.
Well, that's right, yeah.
And so they used to like just run us home on a regular basis.
Early school was so poor, didn't have a gym. We had to go down to Newman, what they call Newman Center now. Used to be South Bend Armory.
What did your father do at Studebaker?
He was a laborer. And the best thing that ever happened to him was that Studebakers went out of business.
And came in up being an electrician.
Because he went back to school and he became an electrician, and he retired from Dodgers as a skilled laborer. But he came here with the WPA, and what did he do? He worked on the roads.
They put South Bend Avenue in.
Well, my dad came here with WPA from Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And he's been here since about 1941. He
met your mother and married in 42?
Met my mother. He came here in 40. He met my mother, married her in 42, and has lived in the same house ever since.
Is that right?
But my mother was born on North Francis Street in the 700 block. And
That's right.
She's been her whole life right there.
Been there her entire life.
Well, now let me ask you this, because the first black family that I remember hearing about living over on this side, and this was a long time ago, were the Allens. Was that area out there where a fair number of black families living out in? So it's all sprinkled around.
There's always been a spattering of us. I mean, my street, Francis Street, we lived between South Bend Avenue and Sorna. That's actually 2 blocks.
You call that more black in there?
Yeah, and it was almost all black.
All black area.
It was almost all
but
black.
But they had white though.
Well, let me ask you, there were no black taverns. There was one black-owned liquor store, you said. Were there any of these grocery stores owned by blacks?
No.
No. Were there any black-owned businesses over here at all? Except the liquor store?
No, in the later years, the filling station, that, and the liquor store was the only thing black over here. Black business going on the east side.
There were a lot of black businesses on Washington and Chapin.
Yeah.
That's where my dad used to go to restaurants over there. There were none over here.
Why do you think South Bend was more segregated than LaPorte?
Back to LaPorte.
There are not many blacks.
Yeah, not many at all. Not many at all in
Back in those
LaPorte.
days, I know 2 families over there.
What about Elkhart? Same, just as bad.
I don't know anything. I don't know about Elkhart.
You know, probably in South Bend overall, what few black people here on the west side. You better not be caught walking down the street holding Marguerite's hand.
Really?
Oh.
They didn't believe that. We couldn't walk down the street holding a girlfriend's hand. They just didn't believe it. We tried to figure out some time ago. I cannot remember a young black person in my day and age that were pregnant.
Wait a minute. I'm way younger than you are. I cannot remember a young person that I grew up with having a baby without a husband. I cannot.
Unfortunately, I can.
I cannot.
I grew up in a white community.
Well, in our case,
Tennessee.
if a girl came pregnant in South Bend by a black person, she would be more or less slandered. She had to go out of town to have the baby.
Maybe that's what happened, all the kids, like I said, all the kids I grew up with, this is what my mother told me. This is what my mother told me when I became a young lady. There's only two reasons you won't have a period. One is that you're pregnant, and the other is that you have tuberculosis. And I hope to God, if you're not married, you got tuberculosis. The end of the story. That
got the point across.
I was scared to death of Renelda.
It was.
Something really changed in the 60s and 70s.
Well, what happened, like how you tell everybody, I was scared. But Daddy, excuse me, Margaret, I said, I always told him about having class. He'd take a hammer and say, he'd go, yes.
Oh, gee.
They told us that story too in the Army, but it's not true.
I take care of you.
So we could never go. I was scared of women. I was legally scared of girls. We had no idea what class was.
South Bend's Own Words was created by Kevin Tidmarsh and me, George Garner. This episode was produced by Donald Britton from the Ernestine M. Racklin School of the Arts at IU South Bend, and by me through the Civil Rights Heritage Center. Visit us and learn how IU South Bend students inspired the transformation of a once segregated South Bend swimming pool. We give guided tours and offer public events that show how the history of oppression echoes through the city today. See and hear more history, plan your visit, or share your thoughts about this episode, all at crhc.iusb.edu.